Well, hey everybody, my name is Johnny. I'm a believer. I struggle with alcoholism and codependency, and here I am tonight. We're actually in my house, and I just wanted to shoot this very quickly to lead into what I'm going to show you next. We're going to have our very first Facebook Live here on YouTube. So we've been doing these videos for about a year on Facebook, and every Friday night at 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern, Pastor John and I, or sometimes we have special guests, sit down and we just take your questions on Facebook Live. And we finally, I think, figured out how to put it here on YouTube. And so this is the conversation we had this Friday night. And it's about a half an hour long. So if you can't watch it all at once, that's cool. If you come back and watch it in chunks. But if you just want to sit and watch it as well. And then next Friday night, we'd love for you to join us on Facebook Live at the Celebrate Recovery Facebook page. The information is below in the description if you want to click on that as well. Then join us on our Facebook page. And with that, let's go ahead and watch this Facebook Live discussion. I'll be back at the end to say goodbye.
We're live. The camera's red. We are here.
It's red and we're ready.
I'm going to plug my iPad in because I need to use it to teach later on tonight, so I can't let it die while we're doing this.
I would make sure that you have that.
Waiting for some folks to come on. A little chit-chat in the meantime.
Yeah.
You doing good?
I'm doing great.
Good.
I'm very excited it's Friday night, and
Me
I'm
too.
very excited that we get to do this.
Yeah. All right, well, we're still waiting for folks to join us. You may be there. If you're there, go ahead and say hi in the comments so that we can know where you are. And if you want to tell us where you're from, we've got some folks here now. If you want to tell us where you're from, that's great too. The national team, some people from the national team should be signing on here soon.
Yep.
So, guys, if you're there, please say hello as well so we know that you're there. And why don't you introduce yourself? Tell them who you are.
I'm John. I'm a believer who struggles with alcoholism and anxiety.
And I'm Johnny, and I'm a believer. I struggle with alcoholism and codependency. One thing I just want to make sure we say, I don't know if we've said this very often, but not only are you John, but you're Pastor John, the founder of Celebrate Recovery. Sometimes I wonder when people share these videos, if they click on this thing, they go, who are those guys?
That's right. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
And Johnny is my son, and he is also the national M for on the national team.
I'm not sure what I do, but yeah, that's
He does a lot of stuff. He does a lot of stuff. And, this guy that they call the founder is not getting any younger. So I'm spending the next 2 years getting him ready to go. So
say 5.
Yeah, we'll see 2.
All right. So anyway, when you come in, make sure you have if you have any questions, you leave them in the comments. And we have Jessica with us tonight because Marnie is coming home from a secret location because it's a location that has to do with the All Together rally, the next one.
No. It does?
I believe it does.
Okay. I don't think so.
You just told me it does.
All right.
They just saw a place that they liked.
Oh, yeah.
You with us tonight?
I don't
You
know.
get Diet Coke?
I thought she was in Tennessee doing the summit stuff, but she just travels around.
Oh, he was right. I was wrong.
Yeah.
Jessica from off camera told us. I thought she was checking something out. I was very confused by
I was
something you told
talking
me at
about,
dinner.
yes, I understand that, because I can be a bit confusing.
Yes, you can. That's
All
right. I feel like I'm teaching the sanity lesson tonight, so this might be an illustration that I use.
Let's go right ahead. Feel free.
But then, and Alexis, who's been with us in the past too, she's in Dallas with the training conference that's happening this
Right.
week.
Yep,
And
we've got about-
so we have Jessica with us tonight. Jessica, say hi. You have to say hi because they can't see you.
Oh, I was waving.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone.
So in the meantime, while you're writing your questions in the comments, go ahead and share this video. Give us a like, or if you feel like it, or a happy face, or any of those fun things that
Sure.
do on Facebook. And I'm just going to take a second while we're waiting for some questions to remind everybody about the YouTube channel. A couple of weeks ago, people were saying they wanted more videos on the YouTube channel. So since then, I put up 2 videos. The last one I put up just a couple of days ago is with me and Hosanna Poetry. She
That
came
was
here.
good, yep.
And she came here last week and did the whole service with her husband Guy, and they did spoken word and some worship. And afterwards, she and I recorded a video and we put it up on YouTube. So you can just go to YouTube and search Celebrate Recovery Official. So anyway,
I'm not trying to guilt anybody, but we really love answering your questions. So as soon as you have some for us,
Everyone's saying hi.
yeah,
hi,
this
good.
is sort of the part where
all
people
over.
are kind of letting us know where they're coming
Yeah.
from. at
oh,
this
that's
point.
good. That's
Yeah.
good, and I like that. And but since we I don't think we should talk amongst ourselves.
Oh, I think that'd be pretty boring.
Yeah, I think it would.
Yogan from Hong Kong.
Hey,
Hey, that's
welcome
great.
from Hong Kong. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
That is
That's
really
awesome.
cool. We have basically what I was going to just say is that we've been talking a lot about the summit, so we'd really rather answer questions tonight. But in case you missed last week
Yep.
and you didn't watch it anytime during the week, no judgment here, but if
Feels like there's some judgment.
there's no judgment.
Feels like
I
there's a
just want to
little.
say that we are going to have two concerts at this year's summits, the summit in Tennessee and the summit here in Lake Forest, California. And it's going to be, for King and Country is going to do a concert, and then Plum is going to do a concert. And that band is amazing, and so you know King and Country is too, but it's going to be two concerts at the summit. It's going to be a great time.
It is going to be a really good time.
Excited.
Yeah, so if you haven't registered for the summit yet, seats are going. There's still seats now. We're in early bird for both summits. You can go to celebraterecovery.com. There'll be a banner right there that you can click on to sign up for either the East Coast Summit in Tennessee in July or the West Coast Summit here in Lake Forest in August. They're going to be the exact same thing, just on two different parts
Locations,
of
yep.
the country. You can, if you sign up a group of 4 or more, early bird is the way to get the least expensive way to come. I don't want to say cheap because I think cheap makes it sound like it's not worth something, and I think the summit is worth
If
worth
you have
everything.
no idea what we're talking about with the summit, it's a 3-day event, and it's my highlight of the year.
Yeah.
Celebrate Recovery, and it is something that I love doing, and the team loves doing, and everybody who comes, we get around 3,500 people at each of them, and it's great. So if you need the dates and everything and all the information, go to celebraterecovery.com.
11th, 12th, and 13th of July in the South
Yep.
or in the East Coast, and it's August 8th, 9th, and 10th here on the West Coast. So
You just like to show off.
I do. I like to.
All right, Jessica, do we have anything?
Yeah, I have a couple
All right,
questions.
if not, make one up.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yes. Clay of Broadwell is asking, where can I find some teen testimonies for my landing class?
Okay, the best place to find testimonies for your landing class is from within your landing. So, towards the end of the landing, your students are going to write their own testimonies. It's part of the program. And so, rather than having an outside person come in, that's what I would do. Now, I will tell you that to say this as well. We're working on something that you'll be able to use in the landing that will have some testimonies from that age group. But I would say, encourage if you haven't gotten there yet, encourage the students to write their testimony, and that's the best place to find them.
And another good idea and another good resource is other Celebrate Recoveries who have landings in your area. Share testimonies with one another. I like that a lot too.
For sure.
Yep.
What else we got, Jess? Anything else?
Vicky Roberts is asking, why do we use the words forever family? I thought that was a good question.
It's a great question.
Yeah.
You want me to take it?
Either way, I got
right.
something to say, but I'll
Well,
let
if
you
you
think.
got something to say, you say it.
Okay, so there's a few reasons. One, because a lot of us come from families that weren't safe, or we have problems in our families that make them unsafe or toxic environments. And so the temptation to feel isolated and alone can really happen. And so what we talk about is Celebrate Recovery as a forever family. One, we're a family. We're all in this together. We are there to encourage one another and support one another. Also, we have the same Father. So if you're in Celebrate Recovery and Jesus Christ is your higher power and your Savior, then we're told that God adopts us into His family. He makes us His kids, and God's favorite name for Himself is Father. He could have been called Judge or anything He wanted, but He said, "No, call me Father."
Yep.
And so we have the same dad, even though we have very different dads, and we're spread out from all over the world. And then we're going to be together forever because once we have Jesus in our hearts, we have eternal life, as the Bible tells us as well. The Bible says that we should treat each other, men should treat younger men as brothers and older men as dads, and we should treat older women as moms and younger women as sisters, that we're supposed to have a familial relationship with each other. And I'm going to give you a real life example of this without giving away too many details. We had a participant in our Celebrate Recovery who had a loss in her family, and I was on the phone with her today, and she feels very alone right now, but she went to one of the campuses earlier this week, and she's going to do everything she can to make it to Celebrate Recovery tonight. And she kept saying, because that is my family. And that's really what we want. We really want to feel like a family.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think that's a good answer.
Great.
Something cool. We've got Lucy from Manila in the Philippines.
this is
Awesome.
great.
Lucy.
She's headed to her Sierra Ministry retreat right now.
Awesome. Well, have a good time. Tell them we
Yeah.
said hi.
Hey,
Um,
Lucy, do me a favor. Take some pictures.
Yeah.
And you can, this is I'm going to go out on a limb here. You can actually send it to my email address, but nobody else listened.
Yeah, right.
You can listen, but it's johnb@saddleback.com, and I read all of my emails. Now, don't go with 10,000 of you. Don't go crazy and send them all at once. However, I just want to warn you, and I will, as I get to them, I will answer them. But I am also known as the shortest answer writer on emails that are known to mankind.
I've written him 3-page, 3-scroll emails in the past, and the response will be great.
Do it.
So that's it.
Yeah, but I'd love to hear from you. Send pictures. I look at them all, and that's something I like to do.
And there's another thing you can do.
Because we are a forever family.
Another thing you can do is if you're on sites like Instagram or Twitter or even Facebook, like you are now, if you take a picture of something and you want to post it, use the hashtag Celebrate Recovery or @reply Celebrate Recovery Official. And we've got all of our, you're John Baker CR on Instagram. I'm Johnny Baker on Instagram, and so you can follow us and tell us what's going on. If you're going to post pictures, always remember anonymity and confidentiality, so get permission of anybody you post first before you do. But if you post pictures of things like that and you want to tag Celebrate Recovery, one of my favorite things to see on Instagram, I very often go through the hashtag Celebrate Recovery. I search it and I go through it. A lot of people will take a picture of their chip in their hands and they'll tell a little bit of their story of the last 30 days or 90 days or a year. I mean, I love those stories. So so that's just another way to kind of get to us. So what else we got, Jess? Anything?
Yes, I just lost my place.
That's all right. That's all right.
See what happens.
Oh yes, I wrote it down because I knew I would do this.
We practice grace in this ministry.
Oh, thank you. So Sharon wants to know a little bit about the prayer journal that might be coming out soon. Are you allowed to share anything?
No, but I will.
I love it.
Because I just don't. I used to keep a lot of secrets, and I don't like to keep any secrets now, except for confidential stuff. So don't get, if you've shared your story with me, don't worry about it. I'm not going to share it. But the prayer journal is coming out at the summits, and this is something that Cheryl and I have done for. Cheryl is my wife of going to be 49 years this year. And if you know anything about our testimony, we've had some amazing, amazing times, and we had a couple of tough times as I was dealing with my alcoholism. But it's a great story, and I owe a lot to my bride. Anyway, I digress. The thing with the prayer journal is it has 4 columns in it. And it's the date you prayed the prayer, and it's great if you could do this by yourself, or if you can do it with your sponsor, or you can do it with your wife. And if you're not married, it works a lot of different ways. So it is the date you prayed the prayer, and then there's another column where you don't write down word for word the whole prayer, but you try to write down as soon as you get done praying a really important prayer. You write down the bullet points that you prayed and asked God for. Then you kind of you pray another night another important prayer, and you go, well, you got to put this in the journal, and you do that. And then there's another column that's the date God answered it, and there's a bigger column that says, it goes, how did He answer it? Mm-hmm. What was His answer? And it's going to be 3 things. It's going to be yes, no, or not now. But it really helps to be able to go back 6 months, 6 years, and say, hey, do you remember when we were praying that prayer? And God just did something today, 6 years later. We got to add that to the journal because it happens. So it really just is it's a constant reminder of the power of prayer.
Yeah. And
if I think I'm praying enough, I'm not. I'm not. And I feel we all could pray more.
I'm excited for the prayer journal, so I don't want to get off that too quickly. But I can kind of see some of the things come through every once in a while. And there's one that came up that I want to answer before I forget about it. Somebody said it'd be really nice if CR would stream the CR services online. And I'm just going to tell you really quickly that is actually against the DNA of Celebrate Recovery, and I want to explain why. But to do that, I have to tell you what the DNA is. If you go to celebraterecovery.com and you click on the About tab, you'll see that there's a DNA statement, and there are 7 very simple statements about what you need to do to call your local recovery ministry Celebrate Recovery. There's no dues, there's no membership fees, it's nothing like that. They're very simple. It's Jesus Christ is the one and only higher power. The guidelines are used. Only Celebrate Recovery official curriculum is to be used. Things like that. Things that actually make a lot of sense. But one of them is there are no online meetings. That all meetings,
or groups.
Yeah, all meetings have to be done face to face. Whether it's large group, open share groups, or step study groups. And I want to tell you why. It would be cool to be able to put on some of our stuff online, but that's not how Celebrate Recovery is designed. In this day and age, with all of the social media and everything that we go through, we feel connected to each other by Instagram, by Twitter, by Facebook. I love and use all 3 of those services. You'll never hear me say something bad about social media. I think it's a very powerful tool, and I think it's a great thing. But one thing about it is that it gives us a false sense of community. Earlier, we were talking about Forever Family, and that we can feel like because I read your tweets or I looked at your Instagram or we're friends on Facebook that I know what's going on in your life. The problem is that I don't put the bad stuff that I'm going through on Facebook. I don't put the tough times I'm going through. I only put the things I want you to see. And even if I do post something bad, it's because I want you to see it. You can't look directly in my eyes and say, how you doing? I go, well, okay. And you go, hey, let's sit down and have a talk, right? That can't happen in these ways. And so with Celebrate Recovery, the groups have to happen in person. Now, I know some of you are thinking, well, I travel a lot and it's really hard for me to get consistently to a Celebrate Recovery. That's why the app is your best friend, because you can find a Celebrate Recovery pretty much wherever you go. You can find a group where you're traveling. I would do it before you get on the plane to fly where you're going. Find the Celebrate Recovery you're going to attend while you're in that town. Some of you are like, well, what about I have friends that are afraid to leave the house, or they've got physical capabilities that are keeping from leaving the house. That's why you go to them. If you have to, you take it to them. The Journey Continues step study has been designed to be done anywhere you want. It doesn't have to happen on your church campus. So that's why they're not. And if you are streaming your services live, you're calling your recovery ministry Celebrate Recovery, that has to stop.
Yeah, please stop.
Because it is giving somebody a false sense of attending Celebrate Recovery, in my opinion.
Right, and you may be doing an outstanding job, but other people will see it and they may not be using it the way you are.
Yeah.
So the other thing is safety.
Mm-hmm.
And this is really important to me. When God gave me the vision of Celebrate Recovery, one of the things that he just put, and he's never let up, is, John, if this ministry is going to last and help more people be free from their hurts, their hang-ups and habits, be free to have a personal relationship with my son, Jesus Christ, it's got to be safe. And I would say of a Celebrate Recovery that fails, and there's not been that many of them in the 27 years we've been doing this, it's because they didn't use the guidelines, and you'll find out what those are, but it didn't use the guidelines and it wasn't safe.
Yeah.
So let's say there's a women's, we've really been hearing a lot about the Me Too movement, and we've had groups for women and men for sexual and physical abuse since '93. And so it's, this is something that is extremely important, and I'm very glad it's coming out into where people can talk about it and be rid of that guilt, that false guilt. Let me just stop a second. If you have been abused, I want you to get a piece of paper out and write "not guilty." There's 2 words on it. Fold it up and put it in your Bible. Put it where you're going to get to see it. Do that, because you are not guilty. We've got a completely revised 12 steps only for that group.
Right.
And so I'm kind of going.
That's okay.
But let me just say about the safety factor again. Let's say there is a group of women that are meeting online, and they are discussing their past abuse and their daily lives with each other, and they have pictures of each other, and then there's I'm just going to call her Judy, and Judy, please do not be offended by this, but I'm going to call her Judy. Judy has a nice persona in her picture, and looks like somebody that you could trust, and boy, that's Judy, and Judy shares good stuff. Judy could be
anyone,
Joey or Billy, and he could be there for I don't even want to get into that. So we can't guarantee that, but we can guarantee it when you come to a Celebrate Recovery meeting, you're going to find a group of safe people.
Yep, and that's what the leaders are there for, is to make sure
You
that
betcha.
it's a safe
So
group.
that's why we don't do it. It's not that I think we could, very honestly, I kind of sometimes wish we could, because I think we would reach more people. But I can't do it at the risk of hurting one person.
Well, and even we have somebody's gonna say, well, about webcams, we can do video and all that kind of stuff. We have our team spread out all over the world, and we'll have webcam meetings every once in a while where we're meeting in a virtual, right? We can see each other. I can't see what's on the other side of your camera. You can't see what's on the other side of my camera. And by the way, I have a really hard time concentrating during some of those meetings because I'm looking around doing other stuff. When I'm in my group, it's different. So anyway, let's
So
jump
hopefully
away from
we
there.
answer that, and
Yeah.
we did it with, not that we, it's like you don't pay money to come to Celebrate Recovery,
Right.
so you're not taking anything away from the ministry.
Right.
This is a gift from God,
Right.
and but we do want the safety part.
Yep. All right, Jess, do we have anything else?
Yeah, so something cool. Janine will be sober for 1 month on March
Wow.
6th.
Awesome.
Any encouragement
Awesome.
for
That's
Janine?
awesome. Keep it up. Keep it up one day at a time, and that's amazing. Good job. Keep
That
going.
is, and the other thing, Janine, is with Celebrate Recovery. God gave me the name Celebrate Recovery one night when I was coming. I went to seminary at a older age than a lot of people. I've been a pastor for 27 years, but I've always not been a pastor. I was in business, but I was trying to think, well, what are we going to call this, God? And it was Celebrate Recovery. And people hear that word and go, Celebrate Recovery? That doesn't make any sense. It does make sense because recovery is hard, but we need to celebrate. We need to celebrate our victories, no matter how long they are. I talked to a guy yesterday, a friend of mine, who was celebrating his 11th anniversary. And I just called him and said, congratulations. But it doesn't matter. You're almost a month is something for you to celebrate.
Yep.
We need to celebrate any victory,
Yeah.
no matter how big or no matter how small, because this will help us just stay in. And you need to share with somebody. So congratulations. And again, you go, just my prayer for you is that you have another day tomorrow, and another day, and another day, and another day, and someday you'll have those 11 years and much more.
All right, what else we got, Jess?
So Geraldine is leading a Journey Begin Step Study.
Awesome.
She said, we have started with 12 ladies. We are down to 4 and are on Victory. She's asking, how much do I need to pursue the ladies?
Okay, Johnny?
Well, so it depends on when they stopped attending. So
Okay.
Victory, you're through a good portion of the material, and so as far as I'm concerned, I wouldn't really pursue them. Now, if they missed 2 or 3 weeks, yeah, call them, ask them what's up.
Definitely.
Go, try to get them to come back, that kind of stuff. Just let them know you love them. But if they dropped out a month or 2 or so earlier than that, I would say let them go through their own journey, and hopefully they'll come back to recovery when they're ready. They may just not be ready at this time. It's a really hard thing to do, but it's also a very common thing that happens in step studies, especially the Journey Begins step study. Around Principle 4, a lot of people will drop out, but they usually drop out temporarily. And what I mean by that is they may not finish that step study with you, but going through Principles 1 through 3, give them a foundation on which they can build later on. Now,
Right.
it's not enough, it's not recovery, but it's a foundation
Right.
of that. And so, and they'll know where to come back later on. And so I would say if somebody misses, and this is just general best practice as far as I'm concerned, if somebody misses a week, and I'm leading the step study, I'll sort of say, hey, who's going to call John to see if he's doing okay? And usually one of the guys will raise his hand and say, I'll call John. Now, if next week John's not back, out of the context of group, because there's no crosstalk and all that kind of stuff, I might go, hey, what'd John say? Oh, he just said he's sick and he's going to be back soon as he can. Great, no problem. Oh, he said he's decided he doesn't want to do this and he doesn't really need it. He doesn't have a problem. Okay, well, maybe now as the leader, I'll reach out to him or something like that. But I think it's something to know that happens, and is a normal thing, but it's also
Yeah,
avoidable.
that number is a little high.
Right.
But let me tell you, I know nothing about your group, but usually when people are dropping out, again, Johnny said it's a normal thing. It's if you start a group with 10 people, if you could get 6 or 7 through the 12 steps that first time, that's great. But if you're going, if I don't know how long you've been going, so I'm not making this about you, but if your group is moving too slow, and let's say you're on, lesson 15 and you've been going for a year, you got another year in that group. That's
If you keep going that pace,
That's a big commitment.
Yeah.
Also, if you go too fast, like say you've been going 3 months and you're on step 12.
Yeah, 15. Yeah,
I mean,
right.
yeah. It's too fast for those people to work with it and really make the changes along the path. It takes about a year. So anyway, there could be a lot of things. What I would do is I would talk to your leader. Also, we have state representatives, and Johnny mentioned the app. And these are all volunteers. There's over 300 of them in the United States alone. And you can find a state rep very close to you also. And if you're a leader of a group, you could call them and say, hey, this is what I'm experiencing. What would you, and you could give them a lot more information than you were able to give us.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Also, something to keep in mind is don't take it personally. When people drop out of a step study, whether it's half the group or it's 2 people of the group or whatever it is, don't take it personally. Even if they say, I quit because I don't like that leader. Because what happens a lot of times is people are looking for any reason not to follow through with recovery. It's another reason why I don't like the idea of putting things online. I like this kind of stuff online, but too much recovery stuff online because it gives people the sense of like, oh, I did that. I don't need to go. And there's something very powerful about attending Celebrate Recovery. So don't take it personally. If somebody drops out, hey, they weren't ready, and don't, so just try to shrug it off. It's tough, but try to shrug it off. I would say call them, text them, see if they can come back. But I wouldn't
keep calling them.
Yeah, I wouldn't bug them.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
All right, Jess, what else? We got time for maybe 1 or 2 more.
Okay, so Melissa wants to know, do you have any recommendations for encouraging leaders to attend small group? So I'm assuming STEM study, or open share, and not just be there to do their job.
Totally. Well, I mean, for me, the leader's most important role is running the open share and step study groups. And so for me, now, if you're talking about leaders as in the TEAM, on Friday nights, they may not be able to go to a group on Friday night because they've got other responsibilities during that time period. But yeah, I mean, we have had leaders at Saddleback Celebrate Recovery who have said things like, well, I'm finally at a place in my recovery where I don't need to go to group every night, every week. And my response to that is always, well, thank God your leader didn't feel that way when you were going through the process, because the best thing about leadership is giving back. That is the most important, or the biggest win in leadership is giving back. And so I would just keep telling your leaders, hey, this is recovery doesn't stop for you because you got a t-shirt or a name badge and you're a leader now. If anything, we need to guard our recovery even more closely. So I would just say it's part of the covenant that you're going to lead a group.
Celebrate Recovery has grown for a lot of reasons, but the biggest one is because it's God's program.
Right.
The other one is that the steps lead to giving back.
Right.
And what Johnny said, what would happen if somebody wasn't there for you and you think, well, I've made it through a step study, so now I'm done.
Yeah.
You're not.
Right.
If you look at Principle 8 and you look at Step 12, this is where you give back and you help that other person who's just got 24 days. You help them, you encourage them, you love on them.
Yeah.
And you're there for them. So, this is something that's how we grow. That's how we've grown. I mean, I'm not saying this to brag, except to brag on God and the people that have gone through the program. Over 5 million people have completed a 1-year step study at Celebrate Recovery. That blows my mind.
Yeah.
And that is in now over 30,000 churches in 22 different languages. And that's why I say this is God's program. And that's because of his power, that the healing and the grace and everything's there. But it does take time, and we got to give back.
One thing I would say on that too is best practice is don't make it mandatory for a leader to run an open share group and a step study. We kind of, I would say, do either or. So they can be a leader who does an open share, or they can be a leader who does step study. Now we have most of our leaders do both, but we've had some leaders that will say, hey, I really want to do a step study right now, but the only night I have available is Friday night. Great, you're leading a group, you can be a leader. It's not mandatory that you lead a step study to be a leader. And so sometimes we put a little bit too much on our leaders' plates, and so I would encourage you to look at that as well. But sit down, and the other thing is, last thing I'd say about this, and then we'll do one more question, we got to go because we got to get moving. But
Because we have Celebrate Recovery
right.
tonight. We can stay here and chat all evening, you know.
Run it.
the other thing I would say is, you said, how do I encourage? Sit down and talk to them and find out what the holdup is, why they're not doing it.
Yep.
So sit down. The best way to encourage them isn't by policy or isn't by threatening. It's by just saying, hey, John, tell me, why is it so, why aren't you leading a group right now? What's going on? You may find that they've got something happening that it's just not possible right now, or they didn't know they could, or they feel unequipped,
Right.
or whatever the number of
Right.
things are. So Jess, let's do one more question and we'll call it a night.
I got a good one. So Jennifer Jacobs Crow is asking, as a leader in CR, should we give our phone number out to people who attend our group, or do we wait until they ask? Would we be being too pushy?
Can I tell this story?
Please do it.
Okay. Well, let me tell you what not to do.
Right.
When Celebrate Recovery started, it started at Saddleback Church, and we were running about 6,000 people at that time. I was, let's say, excited and perhaps maybe an
Zealous?
zealous maybe in this. What I did is I went to the person in the church who's in charge of our bulletin, and we had a little thing about Celebrate Recovery in there, and it was very new. And I decided it would be good for me, because I had started this as a lay pastor, it would be good for me to put my home phone number in the bulletin for 6,000 people. And then with the thing, call me anytime. Well, they did. And Cheryl reminds me of that still today. But it's I wouldn't do that. But I think in your small group, I think one of the good things is that, let's say that one person does not want to give their phone number. It's not a requirement of the group. But I think it's good to have the group numbers because of this. They may not have a sponsor accountability team yet, and their sponsor may not be able to be reached. They can call somebody in the group. And I trust me, I had a lot of nights where I got phone calls at 3 or 4 in the morning, and I think I appreciated them more than my wife did.
Or your kids.
Or my kids, yes.
And just, my 2 cents with this is it's a best practice issue. It's going to be up to each individual person whether or not they feel comfortable giving out their phone number. I would say that it's going to kind of be up to you on how you do that. If you don't, I do think it's really good to give people a way at least to get a hold of you. So that way, if there's something going on, there's a way to get a hold of you to let you know.
Yep.
All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us this week. And this was a fast half hour. I know that we could spend more time
Hopefully
doing
it was for you too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're like, no, it wasn't. But thank you.
Well, they're finally done.
Yeah, thanks for joining us this week. And like I said, make sure to check us out on YouTube and, all the social medias and all that kind of stuff. And we're really glad you joined us, and we'll see you next week.
God bless you.
Bye, everybody.
All right, everybody. Well, I hope you enjoyed this very first time we're able to put our Facebook Live conversation here on YouTube. Like I said, if you can, join us next week live on Friday at 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and do that here now so you can get all the content as it comes out. And why don't you give us a thumbs up and a like while you're on your way out as well. With that, I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.